What if the most dangerous person in Silo right now is not the one giving orders? What if it is the one leaving secret notes in the dark? Because after episode 1, Juliette is not just trapped inside the silo again. She is being watched, medicated, lied to, and quietly pointed toward a truth someone else desperately wants her to find. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Breakdown Epic. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Now, Silo Season 3 Episode 2 has a lot to prove because the premiere did something really smart. It did not come back with pure action. It came back with control. Juliette returned to Silo 18 as a symbol, not a free person. The outside world timeline opened up a much bigger mystery. Sims and Camille looked more powerful than ever, and the note at the end told us that whatever false peace has been built around Juliette is already starting to crack. So today, I want to break down my biggest theories for episode 2, because I think the next chapter is going to be all about who is lying, who is remembering, and who actually benefits when Juliette starts waking up. Let's start with the biggest immediate question. Who sent Juliette the note? Now, I think there are 3 realistic options, but I want to begin with the one that feels the most dangerous rather than the most obvious, Lucas Kyle. Because if Lucas is alive, and I absolutely think that is still on the table, then he makes the most sense as someone who would reach out to Juliette in a quiet, strategic way, instead of doing anything reckless.
He has seen too much. He knows enough to understand how dangerous direct exposure would be. And if he has been hiding all this time, then that means he is not acting out of panic. He is waiting for the right moment. And Juliette coming back as mayor, while clearly not being herself, would be exactly the kind of moment that forces him to act. Personally, I do not buy that Lucas is dead. The premiere did not spend time talking about him as missing, presumed dead for no reason. That feels like setup. The show wants his absence to matter before his return lands. And if it is him behind the note, then episode 2 could become the start of Juliette getting her memory and agency back at the exact same time. Now, the second possibility is Patrick Kennedy. And honestly, this one feels more likely on the surface, because the outsiders are already active, already causing disruption, and already operating around the same central belief Juliette once threatened the system with, that the display is false, and outside may not be what they are being told it is. If Kennedy is in hiding and still building his own resistance, then Juliette is the ultimate target for recruitment. She is useful, symbolic, and close enough to power to matter. But here's my issue with that theory. Kennedy feels like movement, Lucas feels like intimacy, and the note itself feels personal. It does not read like propaganda. It reads like someone trying to wake Juliette up carefully. That's why my third option still matters too.
Martha. She has always been one of the few people Juliette instinctively trusts. If the show held her back in the premiere on purpose, and I think it did, then that absence may mean her re-entry into the story is supposed to matter. A conversation with Martha could absolutely trigger memory flashes for Juliette, because their connection is emotional, not strategic. And in a season built around memory suppression, emotional connection may be the one thing stronger than the medication. So if you ask me right now, I would rank it like this. Most emotionally effective answer, Martha. Most politically useful answer, Lucas. Most obvious resistance answer, Kennedy. And honestly, the smartest version of the show may end up combining 2 of those. Now let's shift outside the silo, because I think the biggest long-term mystery in episode 2 may have nothing to do with Juliette at all. It may be that cloud. The strange formation 50,000 feet in the air is not just random sci-fi weirdness. The show planted it too deliberately. Charles sees it. It reacts unnaturally. The surfaces begin melting into this gooey distortion. Other pilots die. And then she survives but loses memory after the crash. That is not a detail. That is a message. Something about what she encountered was never supposed to be understood cleanly. Now, I know some people are jumping toward alien territory, and look, I get it. Strange object in the sky, weird reaction, unexplained tech behavior, that is how those conversations start. But personally, I still think the stronger theory is human creation, not outside intervention. What if the cloud is part of the same military escalation that eventually led to the silos? Remember, we already know Iran built a dirty bomb. The old world was on the edge of retaliatory collapse. So what if the thing Charles hit was some kind of advanced defensive or offensive atmospheric tech, something experimental, something stored high enough to stay hidden, something that either malfunctioned or was used in a way no one fully understood until it was too late? That would fit Silo perfectly, because this show is not really about random apocalypse. It is about systems built by people who always think they can control consequences better than they actually can. Now let's rewind and bring Daniel Keane into this, because I think the show may be quietly telling us that he matters a lot more than he appears to. The premiere already gave him unusual focus. His sister wants him on the Iran committee, the political environment around him is tightening, and if the old world story is set roughly 300 years before the Silo timeline, then this is probably not just backstory for flavor. This is origin material. And here is the theory I cannot shake. What if Daniel Keane is one of the ideological architects of the Silo system? Not necessarily the only founder, but one of the people whose worldview gets built into it.
That matters because of the algorithm. People already notice the voice pattern similarities, and honestly, I think the show wants us to notice them. If the algorithm is not literally Daniel Keane, it still could be based on his decision-making logic, his political philosophy, or some early model connected to him. In other words, the real monster behind the silo may not be one person. It may be an old governing mindset preserved forever through technology. And that would make the entire memory suppression story even more chilling. Because then Juliette is not just being controlled by present-day leaders, she is being controlled by a system designed centuries ago to outlive everyone inside it. Now let's talk about Sims for a minute, because I think episode 2 may finally start breaking him emotionally. The premiere already showed the algorithm trusting Camille more than it trusts him, and if that continues, then Sims is going to start unraveling in a way that could be incredibly dangerous. He already lived under Bernard's authority. If he now has to watch his own wife become more valuable to the system than he is, that creates the perfect breeding ground for resentment. And Silo loves resentment, especially the quiet kind. So if Camille keeps rising and Sims keeps feeling undermined, then one of two things happens. Either he becomes more loyal out of fear of losing everything,
Or he starts making small emotional mistakes that destabilize the whole power structure from the inside. In my opinion, the second option is far more interesting. Now here's the what if that makes episode 2 really dangerous. What if Juliette's missing memories are not just being suppressed to stop her from telling people that the outside is survivable? What if they are being suppressed because she saw something far worse than hope? What if she learned something about the other silos, the outside world, or the founding system that would not just spark rebellion, it would collapse belief entirely? Because if that is the case, then whoever sent the note is not just trying to wake Juliette up. They are forcing the silo toward a confrontation it may not survive. And that is why I think Billings matters too. He is already wobbling. He does not fully trust Sims and Camille. He does not seem at peace with the structure around him. And if he is the one investigating a disappearance in episode 2, that investigation could push him closer to the truth than the system can tolerate. Now, let's do the fast-fire breakdown, because episode 2 feels like it is going to be one of those setup episodes where every small move matters later. Lucas is probably alive and may be involved in the note. Martha could re-enter at the exact emotional moment Juliette needs to start remembering. Kennedy and the outsiders are likely planning something bigger than a simple message campaign. The cloud is probably human-made tech, not random fantasy sci-fi. Daniel Keane may be tied to the ideological creation of the silo system. The algorithm may be built around older political logic, possibly even his. Sims is heading toward a loyalty crisis, and Juliette waking up may not bring hope first. It may bring panic. So overall, I think episode 2 is shaping up to be less about spectacle and more about destabilization. Someone wants Juliette to remember. Someone wants the false peace in Silo 18 to crack. And the deeper the old world storyline goes, the more likely it becomes that the real horror of Silo is not what happened outside. It is what people built in response to it. But anyway, that is my breakdown of Silo Season 3, Episode 2 theories and what I think could happen next. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Who do you think sent Juliette the note? And do you think the cloud in the sky was the beginning of the end or just one piece of something much bigger? I will catch you in the next one.